The massive viewing screen on the Imperial command ship Eternal Dawn showed 10,000 warships surrounding Earth, their metal hulls gleaming under the distant sun. Each ship was larger than the largest human vessel ever built. At the center of this overwhelming display of power stood Admiral James Gray, his weathered face betraying no emotion as he faced the Galactic Council. The council chamber itself was designed to intimidate. Towering crystalline walls stretched up into darkness, and the floating platforms where the council members sat were arranged in ascending rings, forcing the admiral to crane his neck to look at them. The air felt thick with tension, and the only sound was the soft hum of life support systems. "Your species has one chance," announced High Commander Vale, his blue-tinted skin reflecting the chamber's harsh lighting. "Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Earth will become a protectorate of the Empire, and your people will serve as junior members of our society." Admiral Gray stood straight in his simple black uniform, hands clasped behind his back. The contrast between his plain clothing and the ornate robes of the council members couldn't have been more striking. Several junior council members whispered among themselves, clearly amused by the lone human's apparent stubbornness. 10,000 ships, continued Vale, gesturing at the display, each capable of reducing your largest cities to ash in seconds. Your entire orbital defense network could be destroyed before your weapons even lock onto a single target. Our empire has conquered 37 species, and none have survived resistance. Gray took a slow breath, looking around the chamber. The council members represented 12 different species, each more alien than the last. Some had multiple arms, others had skin that shifted colors with their emotions, and a few didn't even seem to have physical forms, existing as swirling masses of energy. And yet, Gray spoke for the first time, his voice calm and steady. "You felt the need to bring 10,000 ships to subdue one primitive planet." A ripple of surprise moved through the council. Vale's skin darkened with anger. "You dare mock." "I'm simply making an observation," Gray interrupted. "For a primitive species that poses no threat, you seem to have deployed a rather excessive force. One might almost think you're afraid of something." The chamber erupted in outraged voices. Vale raised a hand for silence, his expression dangerous. "Choose your next words carefully, human. They may be your species' last." Gray allowed himself a small smile. "I have a counter-proposal. Give us 24 hours to prepare Earth's response to your ultimatum." Laughter echoed through the chamber. 24 hours to what? To pray? To say goodbye to your families? Vale leaned forward. "Or perhaps to hide some primitive weapons you think might save you?" "Simply to prepare our response," Gray replied. "You've waited thousands of years to contact Earth. Surely you can wait one more day." Vale studied the human for a long moment. The other council members murmured among themselves, but everyone could see the logic. What difference could one day make against such overwhelming force? "Granted," Vale finally declared. 24 hours. Not 1 minute more. Use this time wisely, Admiral. Say goodbye to your world as you know it." Gray bowed slightly, that same small smile still on his face. "Thank you for your generosity. Though I should warn you, Earth has survived every extinction-level event thrown at it. We're still here. There's a reason for that." As Gray turned to leave, Vale called out, "Is that a threat, human?" The Admiral paused at the chamber's entrance. "No, High Commander. Just another observation." He walked out, leaving the council to wonder why a man facing certain doom seemed so confident. In his quarters aboard the small Earth ship that had brought him to the Eternal Dawn, Gray immediately opened a secure channel to Earth. "Professor Thompson, you have 24 hours. Is it ready?" The voice that came back was tired but excited. "Ready? We've been ready for months. We were just waiting for them to give us an excuse." Gray's smile widened. "Then let's show the galaxy why you should never corner a species that turned nuclear war into a meme." The channel closed, leaving the Admiral alone with his thoughts and the knowledge that tomorrow, The galaxy would learn an important lesson about humanity. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Professor Alan Thompson stared at his computer screen with bloodshot eyes. Coffee cups littered his desk, testament to the endless hours he'd spent perfecting Project Harmony. The underground lab hummed with activity as scientists and engineers rushed to complete final checks on their equipment. Professor. His assistant Tom walked in, carrying yet another cup of coffee. The Admiral's message just came through. We have 24 hours. Thompson didn't look up from his screen. 24 hours to save humanity. No pressure. He chuckled, though there was little humor in it. How's the broadcast system? Ready. We've connected to every satellite in Earth's orbit. Even hijacked some of the Imperial communication relays while they weren't looking. Tom placed the coffee beside his boss. They still think we're just primitives playing with radio waves. The professor finally looked up, rubbing his tired eyes. The main laboratory beyond his office window was filled with what looked like ordinary speakers and sound equipment. To anyone else, it might have seemed like they were preparing for a concert rather than defending Earth from an alien invasion. Primitives, Thompson muttered, standing up to stretch. That's what everyone gets wrong about humans. We're not primitive. We're survivors. Do you know why we're the only species in the galaxy that developed music as we know it? Tom had heard this before, but he knew his boss needed to talk through it. Because of Earth's background noise. Exactly. Thompson walked to the window, pointing at the equipment. Every other intelligent species evolved on quiet worlds. Perfect, peaceful environments. But Earth, he laughed. Earth never shuts up. Wind, rain, thunder, animal calls, ocean waves, constant noise. So we adapted. We learned to filter it, process it, enjoy it. We turned noise into music. The intercom crackled. Professor Thompson to testing chamber 3. Final calibration check required. Thompson grabbed his coffee and headed for the door, gesturing for Tom to follow. They walked through corridors carved from solid rock, passing dozens of researchers all focused on their tasks. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Testing chamber 3 was a large room with walls covered in sound-absorbing material. In the center sat what looked like an ordinary portable speaker, about the size of a lunchbox. Next to it stood Dr. Wells, their xenobiologist. Last test confirmed what we suspected, Wells said without preamble. The Imperial neural network connects every ship in their fleet. Their entire command structure is linked through it. One signal reaches them all. Thompson picked up the speaker, turning it over in his hands. 10 years of work, condensed into something so simple-looking. And their biology. Unchanged from our original findings, every species in the Empire evolved in quiet environments. Their neural systems never developed our resistance to certain sound patterns. They literally can't handle what we consider normal. Tom looked at the speaker with newfound respect. And we're sure about the choice of weapon. Thompson's tired face broke into a grin. Oh yes, we tested thousands of songs. Classical, rock, pop, everything. But nothing had quite the same effect as this. Something about the specific frequency patterns, the rhythm, the repetition. It's perfect. And the fact that it's already a weapon in human culture. That's just poetic. The intercom came alive again. Message from Admiral Gray. Imperial fleet is getting impatient. They're demanding to know what we're doing. Let them wonder, Thompson said, carefully placing the speaker in its protective case. They think they're watching us prepare some primitive last stand. Instead, we're about to introduce them to one of humanity's greatest weapons, our sense of humor. He sealed the case and handed it to a waiting courier. In less than an hour, it would be in Admiral Gray's hands aboard the Earth ship. Thompson watched it go, then turned to his team. All right, people. Let's make sure everything's perfect. Tomorrow, we're going to rickroll an entire empire into submission. And I want them to get the full experience. As his team scrambled to their stations, Thompson allowed himself a moment of pride. The Empire had come expecting primitive warriors with primitive weapons. Instead, they were about to learn why you should never underestimate a species that turned even its entertainment into a weapon. The meeting room in the underground facility was packed with Earth's top military leaders. Professor Thompson stood at the front, using the simple whiteboard to explain what had taken his team a decade to discover. The clock on the wall showed 16 hours remaining until the Imperial deadline. "Think about how we discovered alien life," Thompson said, drawing a wave pattern on the board. "We listened. Radio signals, space noise, every civilization out there was broadcasting. But what we didn't realize at first was how limited their broadcasts were." General Roberts, a stern-faced man who had opposed Project Harmony from the start, leaned forward. "Limited how?" Thompson drew another wave pattern, simpler than the first. "Their signals were too perfect, too clean. No background noise, no variation. We thought our equipment was broken at first." He tapped the board with his marker. "Then we figured out why." The professor pulled up a star map on the room's main screen. Red dots mark the homeworlds of every Imperial species. Every single one of these worlds is quiet. No major storms, no active tectonics, no loud wildlife. Perfect, peaceful environments. He smiled. "Nothing like Earth." Dr. Wells stepped forward, holding up a tablet showing brain scan images. This changed how their brains developed. Their neural systems never had to filter out background noise, never had to process complex sound patterns. They hear everything with perfect clarity. And that's their weakness. Their weakness? A Navy commander asked. "How is better hearing a weakness?" Thompson grabbed his coffee cup and tapped it with his pen, creating a simple rhythm. Imagine growing up in a silent room. Then one day, someone starts playing drums. It would be overwhelming, wouldn't it? Now imagine that your brain literally can't filter it out, can't ignore it. Every beat hits your neural system like a hammer. Understanding began to dawn on the faces around the room. General Roberts sat back, his expression thoughtful. "And humans can handle this because Earth trained us," Thompson finished. "Wind, thunder, animal calls, ocean waves. We grew up with chaos. Our brains learned to filter, to process, to adapt. We didn't just survive the noise." He grinned. "We turned it into art." The screen changed to show data from their experiments. Every species in the Empire uses a neural network to communicate between ships. It's efficient, instant, and lets them coordinate perfectly. But it also means they all share the same weakness. Dr. Wells took over. "We tested thousands of sound patterns. Classical music caused disorientation. Heavy metal created confusion. But then we found something special. A particular song with just the right combination of rhythm, repetition, and frequency patterns." Thompson pulled out his phone and held it up. "A song that humans have already turned into a weapon of sorts. One that's been driving people crazy on the internet for years. When we played it through their neural network in our tests." He paused for effect. Total neural overload in seconds. The room was silent as the implications sank in. Finally, General Roberts stood up. "You're telling me that we're going to defeat the most powerful empire in the galaxy by rickrolling them?" "Exactly." Thompson's grin widened. "Their neural network will broadcast it to every ship simultaneously. None of them have the ability to filter it out or ignore it. And the best part? Humans aren't just immune. Most of us actually enjoy the song." A young lieutenant raised her hand. "But won't they expect some kind of attack through their network?" "They've already scanned the device we're sending up," Dr. Wells answered. "To them, it looks like a primitive speaker. They'll be expecting some kind of verbal response, or maybe a desperate plea. Their arrogance is our advantage." Thompson looked at the clock. 15 hours remained. Their empire spans half the galaxy. They've conquered 37 species. They have technology we can barely understand. But in all that time, they never had to deal with something as simple as an earworm. He turned back to the room full of military leaders. "Tomorrow, the galaxy learns why humans are different. We didn't just survive on our noisy, chaotic world. We turned that chaos into a weapon. And now we're going to use it to save Earth with the power of Rick Astley. Nobody laughed. They didn't need to. In 15 hours, the joke would be on the Empire. The Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn loomed against the backdrop of stars, its massive hull gleaming with powerful energy shields. 8 hours remained until the deadline as Admiral Gray's small shuttle docked in the main hangar. He carried a simple black case, walking with the same confident stride he had shown the day before. The alien guards watched him suspiciously. Their orders were to search him and the case for weapons, but their advanced scanners showed nothing dangerous, just a simple speaker device made of plastic and metal. One guard snorted in contempt, the sound coming through his translator as static. "This is what Earth sends, a box that makes noise." The guard waved him through. Gray smiled. Sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful. The council chamber was less crowded than before. Only the highest-ranking members were present, floating on their elevated platforms. High Commander Vale looked down at Gray with a mixture of pity and annoyance. "You return early, human," Vale said. "Have you come to surrender before the deadline?" Gray placed the black case on the central platform. The simple device looked out of place among the advanced alien technology that filled the chamber. "Actually, I've come to give you a warning." Laughter echoed through the chamber. One council member, a being made of shifting crystal, leaned forward. "You stand in the heart of the most powerful fleet ever assembled, and you bring warnings." "Yes." Gray's voice remained calm. "Because in a few hours, we're going to activate this device. And when we do, your empire will surrender." The laughter grew louder. Vale's skin rippled with colors of amusement. A single primitive sound device against 10,000 warships. He gestured at the massive fleet visible through the chamber's viewing windows. "Perhaps fear has damaged your mind, Admiral." Gray walked around the device slowly. "Tell me, High Commander, why did you evolve neural networks for your ships? Was it because normal communication was too slow?" Vale's amusement faded slightly. "Our neural networks are the pinnacle of communication technology. Every ship, every crew member, connected in perfect harmony. Something your primitive species could never understand." "Harmony." Gray repeated the word thoughtfully. "Interesting choice of words. We have a project back on Earth called Harmony. Would you like to know what it does?" A subtle tension crept into the chamber. Several council members shifted uncomfortably, though they couldn't explain why. Vale's skin darkened. "Your attempts at psychological warfare are pathetic, human." "It's not warfare," Gray said. "It's music. Or at least it will be." He tapped the case gently. "This isn't a weapon. It's a speaker, and in a few hours, it's going to play a song." "A song?" The crystal being's voice held confusion. "You think music will save your world?" Gray looked around the chamber, meeting each council member's eyes. "We studied your species. All of them. Did you know that Earth is the only planet that developed music as we know it? The only world where life had to adapt to constant noise." Vale's skin had shifted to a deeper shade, showing concern despite his efforts to hide it. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm telling you directly." Gray's voice hardened. "In a few hours, this device will activate. It will broadcast through your neural network. The same network you so proudly connected to every ship in your fleet. And when it does, you're going to experience something humans have been using as a weapon for decades." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. The song we chose. We picked it because it has a special name in our culture. We call it a mimetic weapon. Look it up in your databases. Study why humans are the only species that needed to create that term." As Gray walked out, Vale called after him. "This is your response. Your grand defense, a primitive noisemaker." Gray stopped at the door. "No, High Commander. This is our warning. The defense comes later. I'd suggest you spend the next few hours thinking about why a species that can turn simple sounds into weapons has survived every attempt at extinction. He left them with that thought, smiling as he heard the council members begin to argue among themselves. In a few hours, they would understand. And by then, it would be too late. The Empire was about to learn that sometimes the most powerful weapons weren't weapons at all. They were just things that humans had turned into weapons for fun. The deadline arrived. 10,000 Imperial warships hung in space around Earth, their weapons powered and ready. In the council chamber aboard the Eternal Dawn, High Commander Vale watched the final minutes tick away on their time display. "Your time is up, Admiral," Vale announced, his skin shifting to colors of anticipated victory. "What is Earth's response?" Admiral Gray stood calmly beside the small black speaker. "Before I activate this, I should warn you one last time. Your neural network, you might want to shut it down." Vale laughed. "You still think your primitive noisemaker concerns us? Our neural networks are protected by the most advanced shields in the galaxy. Nothing can." Gray pressed a button on his wrist device. The speaker came to life. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, through every neural network, through every ship's communication system, through every Imperial soldier's neural implant, a simple drumbeat began to play. Asterisk, never gonna give you up. Asterisk. The effect was instant. Vale's skin shifted to a color nobody had ever seen before. His eyes widened in shock as the song continued, its rhythm and patterns slamming into his neural system like physical blows. Asterisk, never gonna let you down. Asterisk. Around the chamber, council members began to react. The crystalline being's surface cracked slightly. Others tried to cover their audio receptors, but it was useless. The song played directly through their neural network. Asterisk, never gonna run around and desert you. Asterisk. In the massive fleet surrounding Earth, chaos erupted. Ship captains found themselves unable to concentrate as Rick Astley's voice penetrated their minds. Weapons officers slumped at their stations, their brains overwhelmed by the combination of beats, rhythms, and that impossibly catchy chorus. Asterisk, never gonna make you cry. Asterisk. Back in the underground facility on Earth, Professor Thompson and his team watched their monitors with growing excitement. "It's working," Tom shouted, pointing at the readings. "Their neural network is amplifying the effect. Every ship, every soldier, they're all getting rickrolled simultaneously. Asterisk, never gonna say goodbye. Asterisk." Admiral Gray watched calmly as the mighty council collapsed into confusion. Vale tried to speak, but found himself involuntarily moving to the rhythm. The song's pattern, so simple to human ears, was overwhelming their highly sensitive neural systems. What is this weapon?" Vale managed to gasp. "This?" Gray smiled. "This is what humans call a meme. We've been using it to torture each other for fun since the 1980s. Welcome to Earth's culture, High Commander. Asterisk, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Asterisk." Across the Imperial fleet, systems began to shut down as their operators lost control. Ships drifted out of formation. The perfect coordination of the neural network became their perfect weakness. There was no escape from the song. In the council chamber, Vale fell to his knees. "Make it stop," he pleaded. "The rhythm, the patterns, they're impossible. Impossible." Gray shook his head. "This is one of our most popular songs. Children dance to this. We turned it into a joke, a weapon of mild annoyance. Imagine what would happen if we played something actually designed to be aggressive." The council chamber was in chaos. Some members had passed out. Others were making strange movements that might have been dancing. Vale's skin had cycled through colors never before seen in the galaxy. We surrender," Vale shouted. "Just make it stop." Gray held up his hand, and Professor Thompson, watching from Earth, cut the broadcast. The silence that followed was deafening. 10,000 ships, Gray said quietly. "The most powerful fleet in the galaxy. defeated in under a minute by what we consider a musical prank. Vale looked up at him, his color slowly returning to normal. What? What are you? We're human, Gray replied. We grew up on a world that never stopped making noise. So we learned to turn noise into music, music into weapons, and weapons into jokes. He smiled. Welcome to Earth, High Commander. Would you like to hear another song? The entire council shouted no, in perfect unison. And that was how humanity won its first galactic war, not with ships or guns or bombs, but with Rick Astley and the power of memes. In the hours following Earth's unconventional victory, the Imperial fleet hung motionless in space. Medical ships rushed between the larger vessels, treating crew members who were still experiencing what humans would call having a song stuck in their head. Though for the aliens, it was far more serious. Professor Thompson stood in Earth's main control center, watching the data stream in from their monitoring systems. The effect of their musical attack had been more dramatic than even they had predicted. Look at these neural scans, Dr. Wells said, pointing to his tablet. Their brains are still trying to process the song. It's like their neural networks can't delete it. He shook his head in amazement. They're literally stuck in an infinite rickroll. Military leaders from around the world crowded the control center, watching the aftermath unfold. General Roberts approached Thompson with a mix of respect and disbelief on his face. I owe you an apology, Professor, the general said. When you first proposed using a meme as a weapon, I thought you had lost your mind. But this, he gestured at the screens showing the disabled Imperial fleet. This is beyond anything we could have imagined. Thompson took a sip from his ever-present coffee cup. The best part, we didn't even hurt them. No deaths, no permanent damage, just a very, very annoying song stuck in their heads. On one of the main screens, they could see inside various Imperial ships through their own security feeds. Alien crew members were either slumped at their stations or making odd movements that looked suspiciously like dancing. Some were muttering the lyrics in their native languages. Reports are coming in from across their fleet, Tom announced from his monitoring station. Over 60% of their neural implants had to be temporarily disabled. The rest are stuck in some kind of loop, repeating the chorus over and over. A communication request flashed on the main screen. It was from the Imperial Medical Corps. Thompson nodded, and the connection opened to show a tired-looking alien doctor. Please, the doctor said, their translator struggling to convey their desperation. How do we make it stop? The song. It keeps playing in their minds. Even with the neural networks shut down, they can't forget the pattern. Thompson tried to hide his smile. That's what we call an earworm, a song that gets stuck in your head. For humans, it's annoying but harmless. We've developed natural defenses. How? The doctor demanded. How do you defend against such a weapon? Usually, we just play another song. Thompson shrugged. Though I should warn you, most of our other songs are even more complex. The doctor's color paled visibly. No more songs. The connection cut off abruptly. Admiral Gray's voice came over the command center speakers. He was still aboard the Imperial flagship, overseeing the surrender proceedings. Professor, you might be interested to know that the High Command just classified all Earth music as a Class 1 restricted weapon. They're particularly concerned about something called Baby Shark. Laughter erupted through the control center. Thompson turned to his team, pride evident on his face. Do you realize what this means? We just won an interstellar war without firing a shot. No casualties, no destruction. Just. He paused, grinning. Just humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy. Weaponized means. On the screens, they could see Imperial ships beginning to withdraw, maintaining strict radio silence for fear of picking up any more Earth music. The mighty armada that had threatened their world just hours ago was retreating from a single pop song from the 1980s. Sir, Tom called out, we're getting requests from other worlds. Apparently, several species want to negotiate treaties with Earth. They're particularly interested in our sonic defense technology. Thompson looked around the control center, at the faces of soldiers, scientists, and leaders who had just witnessed humanity's most bizarre victory. Should we tell them that what they call our ultimate weapon is actually just something we use to prank each other on the internet? No, General Roberts replied with a rare smile. Let them wonder. Let the galaxy think twice before threatening Earth again. After all, he paused, looking at the retreating Imperial fleet. We're never gonna give up our secrets, never gonna let them down. Sir, Thompson interrupted, please don't. One galactic crisis is enough for today. 1 month after Earth's musical victory, the underground facility had been transformed. What was once a secret research lab was now the headquarters of Earth's new Memetic Defense Force. Professor Thompson sat in his office, now decorated with framed pictures of Rick Astley and various internet memes. A knock at his door interrupted his work. Admiral Gray entered, followed by an alien dignitary whose translator badge identified them as the new Imperial ambassador. Professor, Gray said with a smile, the ambassador has some interesting news from the Empire. The ambassador's color shifted nervously as they spoke. Our scientists have finally managed to purge the song from our neural networks. Though some of our people still report involuntarily moving their appendages in what you call dancing. Thompson nodded sympathetically, though his eyes twinkled with amusement. Any lasting effects? No permanent damage, the ambassador admitted, though our medical council is still baffled by how a simple sound pattern could disable our entire fleet. They paused. The High Command has questions. I'm sure they do. Thompson gestured for them to sit. Let me guess. They want to know if we have more songs. The ambassador's color shifted to a deeper shade. Our intelligence suggests your planet has millions of these acoustic weapons, something called pop music, and worse, something termed dubstep. Gray and Thompson exchanged glances, trying not to laugh. The Admiral spoke first. Perhaps we should discuss more pleasant matters, like the peace treaty. Yes, yes. The ambassador seemed relieved to change the subject. The Empire wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations, with some conditions, of course. Thompson raised an eyebrow, such as, all Earth music must be clearly labeled as a potential weapon. And the ambassador's color rippled. We request a minimum safe distance of 50 light years for any Earth broadcasting stations. Seems reasonable, Thompson said, keeping a straight face. Though you should know, some humans can sing without technology. The ambassador's translator crackled with static that might have been a gasp of horror. Just then, Tom burst into the office, excitement on his face. Professor, you need to see this. He paused, noticing the ambassador. Oh, sorry, but this is important. The video we uploaded. It's gone viral across the galaxy. Video? The ambassador asked nervously. Thompson pulled up a holographic display. On it, footage from the Imperial surrender was playing, set to, of course, Never Gonna Give You Up. The view counter showed billions of hits from across thousands of worlds. The ambassador's color kept shifting. You turned our surrender into a meme. Welcome to Earth culture, Gray said proudly, where even our greatest military victory becomes content for social media. The ambassador stood quickly. I must report this to the High Command. They need to know that humans don't just use memetic weapons. They enjoy them. After the ambassador hurried out, Thompson turned to Admiral Gray. Think we should tell them about TikTok? Let's save something for the next crisis. Gray laughed. Though I have to ask, why did you really choose that specific song? We had millions to pick from. Thompson walked to his window, looking out at the bustling facility below where scientists and soldiers worked together, preparing Earth's new role in galactic society. Because it was perfect, he said. It's catchy but harmless, annoying but not aggressive. And most importantly, he smiled. It showed the galaxy exactly who we are, a species that turns everything, even our weapons, into jokes and entertainment. And now, Gray asked, what do we do with our new status as the galaxy's most feared musical superpower? Thompson picked up a tablet showing diplomatic requests from dozens of alien worlds. Some wanted protection, others wanted trade deals, and a brave few actually requested to study Earth music under controlled conditions. Now we do what humans do best, Thompson said. We take something powerful, make it fun, and share it with the universe. He grinned. Maybe we'll wait a while before introducing them to heavy metal. In the halls of the facility, humans went about their work, many humming or whistling tunes that would have brought the Empire to its knees. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not through force or fear, but through the power of its most unique weapon, its culture. And somewhere in the vast Imperial fleet, a small alien child asked their parent a question that would send chills through the galaxy. What's a Rickroll?